Good evening, good evening. How have you been? How has your week been? It's the end of another long week, and we want to thank God for His mercies so far. You're welcome to Relationship Talk with Nike, and we're going to be having some very great personalities here today, and we're going to be having some very, very interesting conversation. As you have seen on our flyer, we are going to be talking about resolving conflicts. Everybody must fight. We all fight. There is no saint here. We all fight. But how do we go about our fights that doesn't give us permanent dents? How do we go about, mending fences after we've had our own fair share of quarrels? I'm going to be having two very important people here to talk to us about it today. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
You're very welcome.
Thank
Nice
you.
to
Thank
see
you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Fisher is here as
Woman
well.
of God.
All right, let me just quickly go through your profile so that people can understand the caliber of people that we are talking to this evening. So I'm going to start with Eloho. Eloho is a personal brand strategist and a marketing expert who empowers. One thing that I hate doing is reading, so I'm going to read it jaka jaka like that.
Just read it anyhow.
And everybody's going to bear with me. So she's a marketing expert and she empowers ambitious women in business to define and achieve their ultimate potential. She's a singer as well as a songwriter, and she's a best-selling author. Anybody that writes book respects them. She's a coach, an award-winning broadcaster. She's the very first female to run a Christian radio station in Scotland. She helps break down limiting beliefs and stereotypes that hold women back. She also is a brand strategist, and not necessarily because of her knowledge alone, but because of her own story in the field. A few years ago, she was this timid, shy person, lacking confidence and battling imposter syndrome. But she has grown to, helping, instead of her to be that person, helping other women break the stereotypes as well. And so you're very, very welcome.
Thank you.
This evening.
Thank you for this honor, for this privilege. I don't take it for granted, especially when I'm on the same platform as my bro, my pastor.
Yes, so yes, so on the other hand, which is a heavy hand, we have Segun Akikugbe, who I call P-Shegs, by the way. Is a man of passion, purpose, and practical wisdom. His mandate in life is to help people, organizations, and nations understand themselves and locate their place in the divine agenda. He currently serves in various capacities, including being the pastor of RCCG, City of God in Glasgow. Is a head consultant at Lead Edge Consulting, a capacity building firm specializing in self-discovery, organizational leadership, and human capacity building. And he's invested 2 decades in raising individuals and equipping them to be the best version of themselves. He's a husband of 1 wife and the father of 2 lovely daughters.
Yes.
Just 1 wife, and the wife is female.
Very important. Very important.
Eloho is also married. She has a set of twins. That's our connecting point. I have a set of twins as well.
Wow.
Yes.
I need protection from this kind of anointing.
And she's married to 1 husband, and the husband is a man.
Very true. Very true.
So it is. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being here. A lot of people are already hailing you in the comment section. Thank you so much for being here this evening. And I trust that we're going to have a very, very wonderful conversation. And we want to talk about, let's fight. Like I sent out a broadcast and I said, let's fight. And a lot of people were saying, you of all people telling us to fight. I said, yes, now let's fight. But when we are fighting, let's try to fight constructively. So we want to talk about conflicts generally this evening. And for me, I think a lot of people have given us 5 steps to understanding conflicts and 5 steps to all those things. Yes, we understand the steps, we understand the names, the technical names that they are called. But when it comes to you and I, how do we feel it in our own bones? you know, how do we respond to some of these things so that we can talk on a more practical level so that people can learn. So today I just want to maybe as opening, you know, as an opening remark, do you think that there is any benefit at all to conflict in relationships, in our romantic relationships? Do you think that there is any benefit to it at all?
I like that question.
Anybody can choose to go first.
Well, I personally think there is benefits because if there's no conflict, it means somebody is pretending. So when we have different opinions and we fight, we argue, we get to understand the other person's perspective, and then we now know how to relate with the person going forward. I've been married 24 years by December. Trust me. We've had our own share of conflict. Initially, I never used to talk. I would just run away, cry or something. But conflict helped me to understand my husband better, you know, and to respect his choices, his opinions, and all of that. So I believe that there are benefits to conflict, as long as we don't take it extra.
Okay, P-Shegs, do you share the same opinion, or or there's something that you'd like to add to that?
Yeah. Definitely. The Bible says iron sharpens iron. But if you've ever seen where iron is being sharpened, there's heat, there's sparks, you know, so you don't get better in a position of ease. Conflict is actually a sign of growth and development. That's what conflict is. It's a sign of growth and development. And it means that there are certain rough edges that need to be smoothed out in order for us to continue on the journey. So a lack of conflict means that we're really going nowhere, you know.
Somebody, like you said, somebody's pretending.
Yeah. So it really means that we're going nowhere, and there is some form of stagnancy. Because at the end of the day, particularly when we're talking within the context of marriage, we're supposed to improve each other. We're supposed to help each other get better. So I say to people that your parents raise you from age 0 till about age 21. Then your spouse raises you from your 20s till your So it's part of the growth and it's part of the development that conflict must arise. Definitely, conflict is a good thing.
Okay, so for me, I just like to put it this way. I like to say that, well, conflict is me reintroducing myself to you, because you know, sometimes when we're in courtship and all of that, we all bring out our best behavior. But after that, putting up your best foot forward for a while, it gets to a point where you just stop pretending and you're like, this is me. This is me. Would you want to learn me so that we just start on a fresh slate so that you can know? Okay, so there's this thing that I also, because of my own practice, I think that in your opinion, do you think that the popularity of the mental health sector has caused more damage in relationships? Because now when you are working with people, you hear them throw, you know, mental health words around a lot. Like, please, I don't want anybody to give me a mental breakdown. I'm dealing with a narcissist. He has some toxic traits, you know, and she's trying to gaslight me. And everybody looks like they're on the offensive. I don't know. In your own dealings with real human beings, would you say that the popularity of the mental health space is causing more damage to the relationship space, or probably making it better? I just want to, from your own relationship with people, because I know both of you are people persons, you know. So you're dealing and interactions with people. What would you think that space has done to relationships? P-Shegs.
Okay. I would say yes and no.
Yeah.
Yes, no, from the perspective that it hasn't caused more damage. It has actually created awareness in that space. So, for instance, like Eloho said earlier, that there was a time that, she would just run away. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So there was a generation that was used to that kind of response. And as a matter of fact, most people are still used to that kind of response. But
Especially
the difference
in
now, yeah, well, it's even everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's even everywhere. The fact is that in Africa, in the past, it is as though the male position was given a position of dominance.
Yeah.
Right. And so because of that position of dominance, several things were excused. So for instance, women were told to be long suffering, to be patient, handle your husband, you need to be wise. And so the challenge was then a lot of pressure was put on one spouse, primarily in regards to how you keep the home. So even for those of us who are Yoruba, they'll say that, it's a wife that keeps the home and things like that. But now what mental health has done is it helps us quickly point out negative behavior. It also helps us quickly discern when a person is going through trauma and they don't even know, right? So people could be going through things and, they're making excuses, So now I'm in a position where I'm like, look, stop making those excuses, right? That what exactly is the issue? Now, the other side of it is people now use it as a crutch.
Yeah.
And so there's no position, because remember what I said, that conflict is growth. And wherever there's going to be growth, there's going to be pressure.
Yeah.
Right? Yes, and there's going to be pain, growing pains. So now any form of pain, people immediately use it as a crutch to say that, oh my God, this is what's going on. Yes, that's what's going on. But at the same time, too, you have the capacity to grow through this thing, right? So before it gets toxic, people are already up in arms. That's the problem now. But the fact is that mental health is a real thing.
It's a
and it has created an awareness that a generation before never paid attention to. And so that's why I say it's a yes and it's also a no.
Yeah.
Hello, would you want to add anything to?
Not much, but I just wanted to say that I agree with P-Shegs, and I know that these days everything is just like, it's just as human beings, as we're growing, as we're all evolving, we jump on trends. So yes, some people would obviously jump on that thread and use that as an excuse to misbehave. But genuinely, like P-Shegs said, mental health is a big issue now, and creating awareness about it has helped some of us to understand what we're dealing with or what we're going through, and then we're able to also understand the other person, and say, maybe this is what this person is dealing with. I'll use an example. Last week, someone called me, for counseling advice. She and her husband had been having some conflict, and she was just going blah 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 blah. I was like, wait, stop. Maybe this is how your husband is feeling. Maybe this is what he's going through. And she stopped. She was like, I never saw it that way. Do you understand? So yes, there are people who will use that as an excuse, but really it has helped a lot of us, identify issues, not just with ourselves and how we behave, but also with our spouses. And like I usually say, in fact, recently I was telling my sister, I started to put myself in my husband's shoes to say, okay, if it's me, how would I react or how would I behave? So
yeah,
that's just what I wanted to add.
Okay. So now let's be coming closer home now. Let's be coming closer home. You know, research has proven that behind every argument, every fight, every conflict is an unmet need. There is something that I need that I'm trying to communicate frantically. Probably that is why we are having the argument. And there are times that it's just a demand for intimacy. Sometimes you just want to be seen, you just want to be heard, you just want to be understood. And a lot of us have not been taught how to be vulnerable. And so we do it stylishly, we argue, we do this, we do that. Some people move around and show themselves like, different tactics without necessarily having the right tools when it comes to communication, to communicate that I really need a hug now. But we send the message out in different ways. And so if we agree that behind every argument and every fight and every conflict is an unmet need, for you as a person, what hurts most if you are unheard, if you are misinterpreted after an argument? What usually will hurt you the most? And I want to start from Eloho now.
Okay.
What will hurt?
Yeah, I love that question. For me personally, what will hurt or what hurts is attacking me as a person, attacking me as an individual rather than the issue. So if there's an issue at hand, let's deal with that issue, not throwing shades at me or my personality or my value or my what. So that's what gets me every time. Let's talk about the issue. Okay, yes, something has happened. Maybe I did something or you did something. We're arguing about that. But don't start making me feel like I'm worthless or I'm nothing or, that's what really, really gets me. So, yeah, that's me.
Okay, P-Shegs, for you, and maybe also the people that you have worked with, what general understanding do you have when it comes to what hurts people and what hurts you as a person as well?
Okay. Now, I think that the first thing is that the definition of intimacy is different in a man from a woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for most women, from what I've come across, they want the communication, they want the openness, they want the vulnerability, right, from the man. They want to be heard. For a man, really, at the end of the day, intimacy starts from sex, and then details. You see now, you can see how Hello has already done her face, right? So for most men, right, intimacy starts from sex. Now, the problem is it goes very quickly from sex to disrespect. Very quickly. So it travels that landscape very, very quickly. Like you're like, what did I do? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And between sex and disrespect, there are many things. There's the frustration of a man, of particularly, I believe that one of the challenges that we will notice now is that a lot of the conflict starts to occur when a man starts getting to 40, right? A lot of these conflicts, and a lot of it comes from the fact of their unmet needs, their unmet expectations that he has had of himself, their dreams that should have been accomplished at a certain point in time, and they're being delayed, and he's going through the process, and so he's thinking to himself, form of questioning any form of in court, it is interpreted as disrespect. Mm-hmm. It is interpreted as disrespect. You know, so the essence is it's about everyone understanding each other's greatest need, you know, part time. You know, once we understand each other's greatest need, and that means learning and studying each other, then we can now begin to progress and grow into a more cohesive unit.
But sincerely, I think I like that. I think I like where Elo was coming from. That and that was from Pisheg's landing. That sometimes there's a thin line for a man when you begin to talk about respect and ego. There's just that thin line. Like you said, sometimes guys, you know, they hit the ground running and they're expected to do a lot, to shoulder a lot, and to just be the man. In fact, there's this
let me quickly say something to add to what my sister was saying now. You know, the respect goes to the extent that I want it to be clear to everybody. My wife is my wife.
That's right.
Right? It goes to that extent. And because my wife is my wife, I don't even want you talking to my wife. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? No.
That one is extreme.
I'm not saying it.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah, but so that, you know, particularly if it's a younger person, you know, there's a way
it triggers insecurity in you.
It does.
No. It's not insecurity. It's because a man knows how another man thinks. That's the thing about.
But when a woman tells a man how another woman
thinks, we are not yet there now. We are on what Elo was talking about now, right? I'm making it clear, you know. And so, okay, I'll give an example. I remember years ago, there was a guy that I was pastoring. I mean, right here in Glasgow. And after every service, he'll come and greet my wife. You know, after every service, you know, after a while, I didn't even say. After a while, I told my wife, I was like, "What's wrong with this guy? Like, this is very inappropriate behavior." My wife was like, "Well, what now? He's just a nice, friendly person." I said, "I don't like his body language." So there was one day, you know, after service, you know, I just accosted him outside. I said, "Oh boy, you know they talk to people's wives like that now. What's doing?" I said, "Forget no man of God me. Man, relax, right? I know you like my wife. Respect, you know, don't just calm down, right? Calm down." And the guy was like, okay, oh, sorry. So my wife, she's probably tonight, she's just knowing
that you did that.
Yeah. You know, respect.
I actually think that if we ever lose that thing that makes us jealous over our partners, then probably there's nothing there anymore.
Exactly.
I didn't know I was jealous.
It must trigger. There should be someone around your spouse that just makes you feel uncomfortable.
That's it.
And it means that obviously you are still marking your territory. You know and it's okay.
Do you know what? As a result of what I do with everything, obviously I meet all kinds of people. I talk with all kinds of people, and hey, the fights no they ever finish. Do you understand? Even the ones they know, the ones they don't know is wahala. So recently, he was telling my my big sister about all the escapades. Do you understand how I talk with different guys and all that? That's only one person he started getting close to. I almost killed myself. You know, so totally agree. If you lose that sense of jealousy over your spouse, it means that we need to check.
Affection is dying.
Everything's still dead.
Yeah.
We don't want you guys to be disrespected. We're just protecting you.
Yes, we are both protecting each other. We are both protecting each other. Because there are some ladies too that can trespass. You just need to warn them.
As in,
you know,
just quiet.
Just warn them.
Stay clear. This is my territory.
Yes. Okay, so there's something there's something that I've noticed that happens to people, and that is a lot of us, there's something that we trigger in our partners, but we're unaware of it, that there is a trigger that we are causing in this person. And sometimes it is personality based, and sometimes it is just your sexuality, whether you're female or male. There are times that when we get into that mode of argument or conflict, let me just put it as conflict, there are personality types that once you get into that place, they become frantic because they want to try to explain to you, this is what I mean, this is what I am saying, you don't get what I'm saying, you know. And the more frantic they become, the more numb the other person becomes. The other person begins to just see it as, it has started and I don't want to go this way. Forgetting that we are just two different kinds of personality. It doesn't have anything to do with trouble. It doesn't have anything to do with labeling. It doesn't have anything to, it is just personality based. There are people that they just want to handle situation when it arises. And there are some people that can just keep quiet and just avoid it as long as they can avoid it. And so there is always this dance between couples that, oh, okay, you're not saying anything. In fact, the more you're not saying anything, the more it is getting the other person upset. Say something. And that one is like, you know what? Let's just not talk about this. And you're like, no, let's talk about, and you understand, there's that trigger that we both cause in each other. The other person, I've worked with people that they complain, my husband is not saying anything. He's not great at conversation. And you look at them, the way you are going about things, this person will never talk. And the one that is not talking to, this person will continue to be this frantic because it needs to get you into that space where you can have a mature conversation. So for me, I want to ask, from the people that you have worked with and also as a person, what are those things that you believe that can be done to you that can get you more frantic or get a person more numb, and you're like, with this thing that you're doing, I'm not going to say a word. P-Shex, do you want to go first?
Okay. I think it's a very
the glory of God has covered me again.
Okay, all right. Once you can hear us. Now that it's a very, very sensitive topic. Those areas of contention. Why? Because it's almost something that has been carried over from childhood for a lot of people. You find it, for a lot of us, while we were growing up, we were frantic to the parents we were closest to, right? Because we just expected understanding from them because they were the closest people to us. And whoever is closest to you is who you're most open with. It's who you're most vulnerable with, even though your communication is not good. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in public, you can bottle up your behavior. You can give a fake smile. You can say hi. But the person that you're most comfortable with is the person that you want to get into an argument with. Is the person that you want to sulk around. Okay, I don't feel like talking to anybody, right? So the first thing that I say to people is understand that that frantic person is the real person. That's the real person with a real need. The Bible says that they were naked and unashamed. And part of being naked and unashamed is that I can allow you see my wounds, even though I'm not allowing you treat them. I'm not pretending around you in that regard. Now, the second part is, what is the effective communication in those parts? And that's where we need to learn each other. So, for instance, I'll use myself and my wife. My wife is more quiet. When my wife is really upset, she shuts down.
Becomes
She shuts down, right? When I'm really upset, well, it depends on the degree of upset.
The kind of upset,
right?
Yes.
So there's the kind of upset where I just say how I feel and that kind of a thing. And then the other times when I'm upset and I'm afraid of what I'm going to say, so I shut down. Now, the difference is that the distance between my shutting down, my communication is much shorter than that of my wife. So I had to learn that if my wife is upset about something, she might not talk about it maybe till a week. She might not talk about it until after a week, right? And most likely she's going to talk about it when I don't want her to talk about it.
Yeah.
Right? So it might be when I'm watching a football game, or I'm doing something that, I'm not even in the mood to be engaged. But because of the fact that I now understood that this is how this person communicates, I now had to adapt to that.
Yeah.
I just had to adapt to that because I came to understand that what I want her to communicate. I want her to tell me what's going on with her. But then I also understand that more often than not, our communication will come out at a time when I'm not in the mood for that. So immediately, my growth now is, oh boy, get in the mood. Okay, let's hear it.
Yeah.
Right. And then as we started out like that, the distance between her shutting down and her communication grew shorter.
Yeah.
So because she got more comfortable and she understood the fact that I'll be willing to listen, right? And even if I don't agree, at least I will listen. It's not that I'm hearing you, but I'm actually listening to you, trying to put myself in your position, right? Now, the truth is that right now, I'm sure I'm saying it better than she will say. She'll tell me later that, you made yourself sound better than you really are. But it's actually a work in progress.
Yeah.
Yes. And she also understands it about me. That when I'm getting to that kind of a frantic position where I can't really talk and communicate, so she lets me be. Right. And then when I now start to talk, right, she listens. So at the end of the day, we don't get into conflict to win. We get into conflict to understand each other. Yeah, it's to understand each other because no matter how warped my position is, that is a position that has been groomed over many years. So it might be defective, but I'm operating from that position of defect. And so her ministry in my life is to help me correct it, and my ministry in her life is to help her correct it. And that's what I also try to tell couples when they come to meet me, that, you know what, I think you guys, you need to learn each other's communication. I was talking to a friend of mine, an incredible man of God in Nigeria, and I said something to him once because he said, my wife said this, my wife said this, my wife said this. I said, my brother, let me tell you what I've learned. Women don't say what they think, they say how they feel. I say it's a big difference. They say how they feel. It's not like she thinks you are useless, right? She's just saying that the feeling is a feeling of uselessness. Right, so it comes from a position of learning each other, to be able to move forward.
Thank you, the Star 40. She's doing an amazing recap of everything that we are doing. Thank you very much at the Star 40. Okay, Eloho, please.
So
what do you think?
P-Sheks, totally agree with you. We need to learn
in your own experience. How does it get you? Are you the frantic one, or you're the one that just shuts down? And how does it affect you?
So, in time past, I used to be the one who shuts down, and
what are the practical scenarios that gets you to that point?
Anything. So the thing with, I mean, all of us, like P-Sheks said, your parents trained you or took care of you from young. So obviously you're bringing all of those baggage into marriage. And then growing up, as most people would have read my book, I struggled with confidence, especially being the last born. You don't talk back at anybody, you know. So I took that into marriage. And so certain things will happen, but I couldn't speak. And so I'll just shut down. And all I did was to cry. I'll go and cry. And then somebody's raining all sorts of things on my head. I want to talk, but I can't talk. And then for fear of being shut down, I'd rather not say anything. And then maybe what I used to do back then, I would just write a note, you know, to just express how I felt or how I was feeling. But now I'm learning to speak a lot. And I realized that has helped. Okay, so I'll give you an example. A few years ago, we had this really bad argument, yeah, and I had it up to here, and for once in my life, I just bam, you know, and I started you know how we can be when we're arguing. Who are you to talk to me that way? I am your wife. I'm the mother of your 3 children. I can talk to you how I want to talk. I'm tired. I said, even me, I am tired. I'm not doing a game. And I've never used all those kind of words. This one was like, I beg, who be this person? Do you understand? Where is this person coming from?
I'm confused here.
And so normally when we have, we're being real and vulnerable here. So whenever we have such arguments, usually, because I'll just go up to bed, I won't say anything. And then he will go to another room. Do you understand? Because like, oh, I'm too angry. Then maybe I'll go and be begging, okay, come back and I'll come to the room, or those kind of things. But this day, when I finished my shouting, I say, anything that won't happen today may happen. I don't tire. You know, so I went back to my room, and then next thing I saw somebody opening the door and coming to the room. I was like, what did they happen?
Yeah, cashew me.
What did they happen? What's going on? And then woke up the next morning. I took the kids to school. By the time I came back, somebody was hoovering the house, cleaning everything. I was like, so I forgot they talk since like this, you know. But since then, you know, it has helped me to respond, and we deal with the issues, you know, immediately. When it comes up, I'm able to, I still have my reservations because, you know, I still have my reservations, so I don't blurt out everything. Do you understand?
I'm not supposed to.
Yeah.
You choose your fight.
Yes. As I please hear me out. Do you understand? Let me just talk. And then now I'm in a better place. I'm able to express how I'm feeling, without feeling like I'm going to be shut down or judged. And then he will listen. But this is where sometimes, now that I can talk back and he's talking, I'm like, it's like, yes, but when you were speaking, I allowed you. I didn't say anything. Now it's my turn. You want to now start, you know, we all want to always defend ourselves. But I've grown, I've evolved, and I think we're in a much better place now where we're handling conflicts better. And my husband is still my husband. He still has hot temper, you know, but I think he also has mellowed, probably with age, with understanding, you know, one another, and understanding our love language as well, you know, so that has helped us a lot. So sometimes I still just mute because I'm like, this one, there's no point. Do you understand? At the end of the day, no be who get mouth pass. Do you understand? We are in this to make ourselves better, not to say, hey, I mean,
I won.
I won the fight.
Thank you, Patience. Thank you, Elo, for being this vulnerable. In fact, even myself, shock catch me. Thank you for being this vulnerable. And one thing that's, for me, I'm the frantic type of the moment you're trying to, I get more frantic when I want to pass a message across and I feel like I'm not being heard. And the more I feel like I'm not being heard, the more I feel the need to explain that you don't understand, because like psychologists have said, it is just the need to be understood. And beneath that fear, that need is also a fear. For most frantic people, they feel like intimacy will be taken away if we don't have a resolution. And the same thing for the people that don't want to talk about it, there's also an underlying fear, which is if we talk about it, we are going to lose intimacy. So both parts, they are afraid of losing intimacy. But if we get to understand that we have the same fears, we both want intimacy. And so this is how I want intimacy to be achieved on my own path. If there is something hanging in the air, I feel like we are not at peace. And for you, it feels like when we talk about this thing, that is when, and so if we both just have that understanding that it is just a fear that we both have, then, like both of you have rightly said, we begin to take steps towards each other. And if we are actually growing within a relationship, we would know that what I used to be very good at before, I'm becoming less of that thing. Somehow we're achieving a new balance. And so for you, Elo, you're talking more. For your husband, he's refraining from talking all the time. For P-Shegs, he's talking less. And for me too, I'm talking less. And our partners are talking more. And so that's the whole idea of having relationships in the first place. To become a new person.
I think something else that I would say is spouses need to get to a point where you're not afraid of each other. You see, a lot of times, because this person married you because they said they needed you in their life.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right? And your best version is what is best for that person, not a conforming version, not an agreeable version. That's the problem, whereby a lot of times a spouse allows themselves to become the doormat of the other. Because it's a case of I'm trying to please you, I'm trying to. And
I know.
The more you try to please, the more you try to be agreeable, the more the other spouse, because I don't want to say it's male or female, it could be either.
It could be
becomes more oppressive. Why? Because the truth is that you see, it's like, for instance, like what my sister said, our husband deep down always wanted the vocal version, even though he didn't know. Do you understand? That's the version that we truly attracted
and he's even
to.
said,
That's the version he's truly attracted to. So so at times when people get into this position of I just want there to be peace, I just want them to be peace, and the person is poking you, you voicing it out. First of all, is not a sin. It's not a lack of being submissive. Because now in Christianity, particularly from an African perspective, we have turned being submissive to becoming a doormat. Do you understand what I'm saying?
And we are tolerating abuse as well.
Yes, so you tolerate these things, so you're supposed to speak out. That's why you have a voice. Now, the Bible says that in all of your speaking, the Bible says you speak it in love. But the Bible says that you should confront evil. Do you understand? You must confront evil, because the truth is that we must also understand that besides our spouse being happy with us, we have ministry to play in their lives. Meaning that at the end of the day, God will ask you, this husband I gave you, how did he become better? Did he become more patient? Did he become more understanding? And this wife that I gave you, how did she become more better? Did she become more vocal? Did she become more confident? So these are things that agreeable behavior does not keep peace. No, it only creates a toxic environment, because one person will keep doing the wrong thing and they think that they are okay.
And I think that, thank God that I'm talking to a P-Shegs, a pastor. I think some of these things, whether we like it or not, it has been propagated by the church and by a lot of religious fairs. They have brought a lot of women into that space, especially here in Africa. They've been able to project that kind of image to women, and a lot of women are trying to live up to it. I see in my practice a lot of women that are submitting, that is, I'm saying purposely submitting to abuse, sometimes even expecting it. And some of them, they don't even know that this person is being abusive towards me, and they are just like, no, God will be angry if I speak up. I'm like, no. When do you ever get that picture of a God that wants you to be subdued, you know? And so if we can continue to talk about it in religious spheres, because some people genuinely love God and they don't want to offend God, and that is why they are submitting to abuse and believing that in not speaking up, they are fulfilling God's will for their lives. Thank you for shaking your head.
I
thank you.
vehemently disagree.
Thank you. Oh my God.
Yeah.
No,
I'm very serious. I vehemently disagree with that. How do I start? It's my mind was clear now, and it just.
It's okay. Don't worry, it will come back. But
let's move on for now.
in the interim, we've spoken about a lot of issues that can arise. But I would want to ask now, because now we are getting to our most vulnerable parts now. In your own Eloho now, for you as a person, there is something that we call soothing in psychology, and it can be likened to a child that has been crying, maybe for attention or for whatever. And by the time, or maybe a child that has been throwing tantrums, and by the time you now hold the child, you soothe the child, and the child is now ready, you know, the child who can now say, and you stop crying. That is, now I have received the comfort that I need. So for you as a person, how would you want to be soothed? What are those things that for you can kiss the pain away after an argument or conflicting situation?
Okay, so over the years, my husband has, what he usually would do, rather than say sorry, next thing I will hear is that, this thing will fine for your body. Do you understand? And,
I like him.
my husband. I'm like, just tell me you are sorry. It's okay. Do you understand? That's all. I just need to hear that. Okay, I'm sorry, I was wrong, or even though you were right, but I'm sorry. And then give me a hug. Yes, all those things can come after. I don't mind. Of course, everybody likes to have something nice, something new. Do you understand? So for me, it's just the practical, really, really practical, simple, very, very simple. I'm sorry, no vex, okay? You go chop ice cream. No, just kidding, chat. but really, really, it's just telling me you're sorry. A hug will do, and talk to me. Don't talk at me. Don't talk down at me. Do you understand? Yeah. I love words. Words, you can get me with words and perfume as well. So when you finish telling me sorry, just buy me like 10 perfumes. That's okay. It's fine.
All right. Okay, P-Shegs, for you, what works?
Well, I'm sure this is going to be unpopular for a number of people, but I think my primary place of soothing is my relationship with God. And let me tell you why. Because I understand that I'm dealing with an imperfect being. I understand that I'm dealing with an imperfect being, right? And so I understand that when, from my relationship with God, first of all, I've already been soothed to an extent. And so now I'm willing to accept whatever my spouse can offer.
He says, I'm not greedy, Jare.
No, I'm very serious. Now I'm willing
I
to
get what you mean. I get what you mean.
Yeah, because now let me tell you why it is because the place of need is very, very deep. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yeah. So the place of wanting to be soothed is very, very deep. Right? Now, if I've received, it's almost like you want to go to a party and you're very hungry. Now, you can go to the party if you eat a lot like myself and embarrass yourself by asking for 4 plates. Or you can eat something, first of all, in your house, right? And then by the time you get there, whatever is offered to you, do you understand? It fills you, right? So there isn't so much of a gap. If not, there are times where in need of being soothed, you might become needy. And the person that you want to soothe you also needs to be soothed. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? So there is such a deficit. And that's why I say that it's an unpopular thing, because it'll be like, it's because it's a pastor, it's spiritual. No. It's just a fact.
You're right. You know? Just thinking about it, P-Shex, you're right. Yeah, because I mean, over the years, last year, I think it was around October, something happened like that, and we spoke about it, or I aired my opinion of what I thought, and he was not having it, you know. But I just let it be, and I went to God and I cried. I was like, I don't like what this Oga has done, but you know, and I left it. And after a while, he came back. Do you understand? In his own way, Sha. But at that point, I wasn't expecting. I don't know how to explain it. I
you
just
over demanding.
Exactly. Like whether you say sorry, you say sorry, your life goes on. Do you understand?
And it makes it easier for you both.
I get
to reconcile.
Yes, although because we are still human.
So you make allowance. So you make like you know the Bible says make
after
allowance.
We have not made the allowance. After we have made the allowance, because we are still human beings, we are flesh and blood. So what is the physical thing? What is the human thing?
What do you want to hear now? There's some people. This is okay. It's 10 o'clock now, because I was like, there are some children that are here that shouldn't be hearing some kind of things. But
what do you want, P-Shex? What do you want?
Wait. First of all, the thing is this, right? There can always be the physical soothing for what I want. But what I'm saying is that at times, that soothing doesn't even come when I want it.
Okay.
Because I'm dealing with an imperfect person. Do you understand? And she's dealing with an imperfect person.
Yeah.
You know, for instance, there are certain things that I do now that my wife would say it took us 10 years to get. Now, imagine if she was waiting for soothing. She would have left since now.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Because she's now saying that finally, after 10 years, then I laugh with her. I say, you know, the Bible says, with faith and patience, we inherit the promise. So this is the promise of the man that you were looking for. But the essence is that between then and now, you know, she's been able to gain a place of refreshing in that relationship with God, you know, and in generally in relationships, even with other people, so that now, you know, we can move on, but it took time. So at times when people are like, the shooting has to come within the next 2 months, it becomes an issue because the person has not yet even arrived there. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? But if you want to know what the physical shooting is, remember what I said at the very beginning. I said that what? Remember what I said? I said for men, intimacy is different than women. right?
Okay.
So, you see now, you don't come to okay. You wanted to know the truth. Me, I don't need perfume.
When
I don't need
men are now accusing you people that every time everything ends in that department,
that's where
it's not
ends. So
that's how God created us. You also you wanted to know.
My husband will say,
okay.
my husband say you are denying me of my birthright. I was like, no, sir. So now it's me that uses it for himself. I want my birthright.
I think for me one of the problems that I used to have at that time was that if I apologize and I want to know why, what for? Because I really want to know because I want to be sure that you know what is hurting me. You're not just saying sorry because you just need me to shut up. And yeah, it's true, because if you are dealing with people that don't want problems at all costs, they do anything to avoid trouble. Yeah. And so I want to be certain that I know why you're saying sorry. And you know, and you also know why I demand a sorry. But I think over the years, I'm beginning to learn. And I'm saying learn. I'm not saying I've perfected. I'm beginning to learn.
We are all
yes, I'm just
progress.
Yeah, I'm just beginning to learn that, you know what, because for me, it's always about what exactly, because, and for me, another thing that is huge for me is I always want to use every opportunity as a learning opportunity to let us talk about this so that it doesn't repeat itself again. But we may never be able to get to the same page at the same time. So it's okay to just let things slide. Like you said,
you can't get there at the same time.
You can't.
And we are both not growing at the same pace. There are things that, you know, even our tastes. For instance, my own husband is about 10 years, 9+ older than me. Even in taste, there are things that he has stopped liking a few years ago, and I'll be wondering what's wrong with this one. You're not eating this, you're not eating that. But now as I'm getting older, I'm understanding that, okay, this is why this guy is not doing this again, you know. So he has had to wait for me in certain areas, and so it's okay for us to wait for each other in certain areas. Last, everybody go chop breakfast.
and it's like you said, the truth is that at times we honestly, the other spouse just doesn't get it.
Definitely.
Yeah. You know, like in all honesty, it's not like the person is trying to be mean or the person is not being sensitive. The truth is that we're just two completely different people. You know, and to arrive at each other's spots will take time.
It will take time.
It takes time. And I think that is one thing that this generation does not have. This generation has been taught not to be able to tolerate anything. And I think as a result of what they've seen and witnessed from their parents, their sisters, and, you know, I think a lot of people are now on the offensive. So they have a short fuse for resolving conflicts, which leads to mostly lack of skills in dealing with real life problems. So people just don't have the skills to deal with real life problems anymore. So let me just quickly do a recount of what we have done here today. In fact, I'm not even sure I can do a recount because there are so many aha moments here already today. We spoke about the benefits of conflict, and we talked about not building an ephemeral relationship because we are trying to make sure that everything is okay. If you have never seen your partner, especially for people that are single, if you've never seen your partner's angry, you should be worried. Something is wrong. Then we talked about mental health, exposing a lot of issues that we can now recognize, and it helps us to recognize it in ourselves and in other people, even though we shouldn't use it as a crutch. We talked about contributing to the other person's extreme version, and we all agreed that there are behaviors that trigger certain reactions in other people, and we should also understand that fear sometimes is at the base of some of those things, and we just need to understand that we are just different people. We talked about being vulnerable with each other. We talked about, we've talked about a lot this evening, and like I can see the time flies when we are having fun. So maybe because already we have exhausted our time, but I'm still enjoying this conversation. I can be here for 2 weeks.
Okay. I bet. But I see my big brother here. Matter. Hi, bro.
I can be here for 2 weeks. So what would be your final advice for couples, whether in marriage or in relationships, in, you know, handling conflicts? What would be your own general advice to people? Elohim.
Like I said about deal with the issue, don't deal with the personality. Attack the issues, not the personality, not the person's worth or value. Understanding, I think understanding is a big one. You've got to understand how your spouse processes things. We all process things differently, so you've got to learn to understand how they process things, how they respond to things. And we are all a work in progress. So you might be dealing with one issue today and think that, okay, we've passed that. That thing might still come again, because we are a work in process, in progress. Understanding, and then it works. Prayer works. Talk to, like Joyce Meyer will say, run to the throne before you run to the phone. Talk to God about issues rather than, you know, talking to somebody else. Because when you talk to somebody else, they will bring their own experience, and then you might take that experience, but one size doesn't fit all. And and just know that we all have blind spots. So you, as the spouse, there's certain things you do that you can never see that you do wrong. But being what's the word now, you know, that thing about being humble enough, something like that, to see the other person's perspective. So these are some of the things.
P-Shegs, what are your closing words for people?
What I'd say is be your true self in marriage. Submission does not mean being a doormat. And love also does not mean spoiling the person. So at times love is tough love, and then submission also requires a standard. So don't be silent on the standard required, because the Bible says, wives, submit to your husbands as the church submits to Christ. So the standard, you know. So the truth is that we're helping each other reach those standards. That's really what marriage is about. We're helping each other attain those standards. And the moment you start making an excuse, or you start to excuse the person eroding those standards that are in your spirit, and those standards are your triggers, and they are there because it's put there by God so that you can help your spouse become a better version of themselves. Then what happens is that you aid in creating a dysfunctional person.
You're an enabler.
You're an enabler, exactly, in creating a dysfunctional person, right? So just own it. Like, I'm married to this person to be a blessing in your life. And part of it is like, love is tough and submission requires a standard. And then once we're able to work from there, then we're able to build on each other and become, and then, each person will be willing to adapt and to move forward.
Whoa. Thank you so much. Love is tough. Submission requires a standard. I'm taking that away from this conversation. Thank you so much for having this very, very, very intimate and vulnerable conversation. I can't thank you both enough. Thank you for deciding to pour into people. A lot of people will say this afterwards, and I really, really appreciate you staying up this late to be able to do this. God bless you so much. Thank you, everybody. Sorry, we can't take questions. You can read. The staff 40 was doing a lot of recap, so you can go and read all the things that she has written already. Thank you very much. God bless you and have a great night.